Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Corner, and welcome to this horror franchise wrap up and movie ranking video. To wrap up my current horror franchise that I've been taking a look at for the month of June here, which is the Insidious franchise, in preparation for the fifth Insidious movie coming out in a few weeks. I believe July 7th, The Red Door. Um, but yeah, I've reviewed the first four movies. Those individual reviews are up on my channel if you want to check them out. This video is going to be a wrap up as well as a ranking of the four movies from my least favorite to my favorite, and I think you're going to find the ranking pretty maybe predictable, but kind of kind of sequential. So anyway, that being said, let's talk about the Insidious series. So of course, this is what I showed off in my intro video, and I actually received just today. I got in the mail Insidious the Last Key on Blu-ray. So now I have this one, the first one, and the fourth one on Blu-ray. And I'm getting the second and third one on Blu-ray as well. I ordered them. I'm waiting for them to come in the mail. So I'll probably get rid of this. This was basically given to me by a friend just so I could watch the movie since I hadn't seen two, three, or four. So I'll probably either give this back or try to sell it or donate it or something. Because I like all these movies. I like them enough to have them on Blu-ray in my collection. So I don't need to have this for it. But plus, as I've said before, I don't really like, especially movies that I like. I don't really like having them where they share a disc and four movies to a case, two movies to a disc. Yeah, that's just not really my thing. But anyway, that being said, I will have all four on Blu-ray by the end of this week here. My overall thoughts is I think this Insidious franchise really does well for the PG-13 horror people out there, for the horror PG-13 sort of idea that a lot of people dismiss. They figure if it's a PG-13 horror movie, it's like what I've heard people call bubblegum horror, which is ridiculous. Um, but to each their own. Some people love they got to have R-rated horror because they expect the blood and the gore and the harsh language and the nudity and the sex and all the stuff, the violence that goes with R-rated movies. I'm not one of those people. I mean, I have a lot of R-rated movies, probably 80% of my collection, but there's certainly PG and PG-13 horror movies that are very effective. They don't necessarily have to be bloody or gory, and I think the Insidious franchise does a really good job of demonstrating that because there's some real creepy stuff, some really good performances, some really good horror in these movies, all of them. And all four of them are PG-13, and I believe the Red Door that's coming out in a few weeks is also PG-13. Um, so yeah, I think it really is a testament to PG-13 horror. Um, as I said, there's not one of the, I don't dislike any of these movies. All four of them are really solid for what they are. I think it's a really solid franchise up to this point, and hopefully the Red Door will be equally as satisfying and equally as good. It's been about 5 years since the last key came out, so um, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But I'm just trying to think if I have any other thoughts. No, I mean, I hope everybody's enjoyed this series. Um, I think I'll have more of a wrap up after I review these movies and refresh my memory a little bit. So let's just get on to or not review, but the ranking. Let's get on to the ranking of these four movies here. And I'm not going to say a whole lot about them. If you want to see why I ranked it where I did, basically just check out my individual reviews. But um, I guess I'll use my new Insidious movie that I just got. My number four, my fourth favorite, or my least favorite, if you want to say, for the Insidious franchise up to this point, is going to be Insidious: The Last Key, which I gave a review of 7 out of 10 to, as far as the rating goes. Obviously, my most recent review, just like 4 or 5 days ago, I enjoyed this movie. Going into it, I didn't know. I know a lot of people talked about this one being like the least of them, but even with that, I still had a really good time with it, and I think they still kept up that insidious kind of tone and atmosphere. Um, it was, as I said in my review, it was a little bit more paint by numbers than the earlier movies. But Lynn Shay was just, she was awesome in this movie, and they really explored the the backstory of her character and how it came to be, and I found that really interesting. And also the fact that the demon, who I wasn't totally crazy about, but I guess it worked well enough, has these keys for fingers and was able to use those into some of the characters in the movie in order to lock them into the further, basically. And that was interesting and different. So yeah, I could watch this movie. I like it, even though it's my least favorite of the four. I think I'm going to say my fourth favorite because none of these are really a least favorite. None of these are bad, but I have to have my list go some way. So this is going to be my fourth favorite, Insidious the Last Key. Moving on to my third favorite, we're going to go with Insidious Chapter 3. You can probably see the order that I'm going in with my ranking already here. This one was directed by Lee Winnell, who I think did a good job for being his directorial debut. Yeah, I enjoyed Insidious Chapter 3. This was the first one that didn't have the Lambert family, obviously, like the first two movies did. Instead, we focused on a different family, a father and daughter who just lost their mom. Now, let me find my notes here. Yeah, Quinn and Sean Brenner basically just lost their mom, and there's a whole backstory with that. But this one definitely had more of the creepy atmosphere that the first two had, just a little bit different story, which it really worked for me for the most part. Again, Lynn Shay was outstanding. The directing was good by Lee Winnell in his directorial debut, and there's definitely some creepy scenes, some good jump scares. Yeah, Insidious Chapter 3, that's my third favorite. Um, my second favorite in the franchise, in case you haven't guessed by now, is going to be Insidious Chapter 2. Um, from 2013, I believe. Yeah, I thought this was a really good continuation with the Lambert family from the original Insidious movie. It is a little bit cheesier. They go in some different directions, but ultimately it really does tie in well to the first movie, and the continuation with the further and everything involved there. The ending villain's not quite as strong. Um, or the ending demon, whatever you want to call it. But overall, I had a great time with Insidious too. I know there's some people that actually put Chapter 3 in front of Chapter 2. They like this one more, which I can appreciate and understand. But for me, it was definitely easy for me to put Chapter 2 ahead of Chapter 3, and then obviously ahead of The Last Key. But as I said, I like them all. So um, but yeah, Insidious Chapter 2, that's my second favorite in the franchise. And so, therefore, of course, my favorite, if you haven't figured it out by now, is the original Insidious from 2010. This is one of the best horror PG-13 movies of all times. It really is. James Wan and Lee Winnell just do a fantastic job writing, directing, giving that kind of horror to the viewer that gets under your skin, that just makes you kind of uncomfortable without having to do it in a violent way on screen, a bloody or gory or nudity sex kind of way on screen. This is a very, very effective movie that really worked for me. The characters, the Lambert family, Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne as the mother and father are fantastic in this movie. Even the boy who plays uh, shoot, what's his name in the movie now? I forget. I got too many. Dalton. Oh, I should have known that. Dalton. I thought he was good. I thought the entire cast was good. The Further was a very interesting idea. This movie introduced a lot of interesting and unique ideas in a very effective way. So, yeah, the original Insidious from 2010, definitely my favorite of the franchise. I don't know if that's going to change or not in a few weeks after I see the fifth one. My feeling is this will probably remain my favorite, but you never know. We'll see what happens. So, yeah, I know it's probably kind of anticlimactic to some people that I basically rank these in reverse order, but that's just how I feel. I think The Last Key is good, but it is my least favorite of the four. And then Chapter 3, Chapter 2, and the original Insidious. We'll see where the Red Door lands. I'll probably update my ranking at the end of that review, my spoiler-free review, which I'll have. I plan on seeing the Red Door that first weekend that it comes out, so I'll have an initial review up for that, and then I'll also tell you where I would put it in my ranking. We'll see if it interrupts the reverse sequential order of my current ranking of this franchise. But yeah, overall, guys, this is a great franchise. You know, Lin Shaye, as I said in my last review, is really the star of this franchise. It's a shame that I don't think they knew what they had in the first movie until after they killed off her character, because she's only in the second movie for like the last third of it, and then they had to go back and do prequels, obviously, because they wanted to keep that character and have her do more on screen, but they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it in order, chronological order, because obviously she died at the end of the first movie. Sorry, spoiler alert, in case you didn't know that. But yeah, she's really the star, and she's became a horror legend as a result of this franchise. And it's definitely a franchise that Lee Winnell and James Wan have their fingerprints all over. A little bit Patrick Wilson as well. Him that this one in The Conjuring. Um, but yeah, Lynn Shaye's really the star. Um, you know, the only thing I really didn't like about this franchise, and I said this in each of my reviews for the most part, is the comedy that they tried to inject through the characters of Tucker and Specs. Lee Winnell, who played, I think he played Specs, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that just felt a little forced to me and unnecessary, especially more so in a couple of the movies. The first one and the fourth one, The Last Key, being the most painful, in my opinion, of the humor. It doesn't kill the movies or anything, but it's definitely a distraction in a couple of them. Something that wasn't needed. But yeah, I'm trying to think if I have anything else to say. I don't think I do at this time. I really enjoy this franchise. I'm glad to have it in my horror collection. Like I said, all going to be on Blu-ray from going forward, and I'm sure I'll get the Red Door on Blu-ray probably the end of this year when I'm sure it comes out at some point. So I hope everybody enjoyed this franchise review. Um, Go ahead and comment down below your list, your ranking. I'd be interested to hear of how you put the Insidious movies, the first four down below. Is my order pretty much the same as yours, or do you go in a different sort of pattern? Or I'd be curious to hear if you want to put that down below. And also any comments you have about what you think of the overall Insidious series. If you're planning to go and see the fifth one, The Red Door, coming out, directed by Patrick Wilson here on July 7th, I'd be curious to hear. Please like this video and hit the little notification bell down below so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. And please subscribe to my channel as well so you don't miss any of my great horror content. In fact, stay tuned in a couple of days for my intro video for my July series. My very next series is right around the corner here. We'll talk about what I'll be doing for the month of July, but I have the rest of the year basically planned out. Um, so yeah, I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you enjoyed this Insidious series, and stay scared. Bye.